There's a huge free agent on the market, and Seattle has a long history with Japanese stars. Ohtani in Seattle makes sense.
Oh, I would just hand him a check and say, "What do you want? Here's a list. Write down everything you want. What do you want?" Because he's like seriously, if you think about it, he's the only free agent that pays for himself in terms of drawing people in, interest, everything else. And because of Seattle's history, Seattle finished second the first time around on Ohtani, and a lot of people thought he's out of respect to Ichiro and didn't want to follow Ichiro and all this other stuff and didn't want to overshadow it. They have a better relationship now. I know Ohtani likes Seattle. He's comfortable here. Most people believe he's going to stay on the West Coast. And I think the Mariners are pretty much willing to operate on his schedule. He pitches every 6 days or I think it's every fifth day or 6 days. It's a different look. They'll do whatever it takes. And they're also into all the stuff that he likes, the biomechanics, all the therapies and stuff. They'll do whatever it takes. But it's the presentation, and you got to be willing to write a check. This is my thing about the Mariners. They can sit there and say they want to win. The Mariners ownership can always sit there and say they want to win. But it takes balls to try and win. It takes risk. You got to have some courage, and you got to be able to screw up every once in a while and say, yeah, we screwed this up, but we were going for it. And, we're just going as hard as I can. So we tripped and fell. We're not, money isn't the issue. That's been their problem. They don't have the courage, at least the ownership doesn't have the courage of what it takes to win because they haven't gone all in. I mean, right or wrong, AJ Preller does that all the time. He throws it out there and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think take some risk, believe in your scouting, believe in your evaluations, and go out and get some guys. With Ohtani, the one thing too is I don't think he really, from what I've been told, he doesn't want to be locked into 10 years. He wants opt-outs. He looks at what happened to Mike Trout. He's like, I'm not getting stuck into something like this. So he wants opt-outs after 2 and 3 years or 3 and 4 years because he wants freedom. Mariners I'd give it to him. Hell, give him 65, 70 million for 8 years. I mean, what's the worst? If he opts out, after 3, that means he's done something, or you've been either really bad or he's done something to get more. And that means you've probably been really good. And if that means you get to a World Series, then do it. You look at what their problems are. They could use one more starter if Marco's done. They need a DH with some power. I mean, he fits perfectly. So yeah, make a run at him. Because they haven't been able to get the bat they wanted. They didn't get Matt Chapman a couple of years ago. They didn't get Brian Reynolds this offseason, although they tried everything they could. They tried to get these power bats or these bats to help their offense, and they just haven't been able to do it.
What about the Cano contract? That was a big.
Yeah, that was a different ownership group, but yeah, that's how they did it. They gave him $240 million versus I think the Yankees were only going to give him 175. And when they got Nelson Cruz, everybody was going to give 3 years, and they gave him 4. Now that contract paid itself off double. But that's the thing. You have to be willing to push past what the market is. You can't just sit there and say, well, the market's too extreme for us. We don't want to do that. Well, the market is what the market is. And if you need help or if you want to win and you know that you're short, because you're giving up prospect capital. The Mariners are really good at developing prospects and turning them into something, but you give up prospect capital after a while, you can't replenish it easily, and then you get into big droughts. So I think, don't be afraid to spend. I mean, you look at Ohtani, he fits next year. Matt Chapman fits next year. Those are guys they need to look at. Will they do it? I don't know, but they're making a lot of money on this product, and I think it's kind of irresponsible not to kind of push it to the next level because this is a team that's never been in the World Series. It's the only franchise that's never been in the World Series. Do you want to carry that? They just carried around 21 years of not making the playoffs. You want to still carry around the moniker you've never been at the World Series?
And they're going to get to show off the city too at the All-Star game, and we know who's going to be there. So do you think, going back to your earlier point, they didn't do as much as you expected because they said, hey, next offseason, we're loading up. Look, the Dodgers are loading up too. They didn't go nuts this past offseason. We're not going to be beat on price. If he doesn't come here, it's because he didn't want to come here, not because we couldn't offer him enough cash.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think that's in the back of their mind, but they're not flirting with the luxury tax the way the Dodgers and all these other teams are. I mean, they have plenty of space to go do it, and they have the money to do it. I don't want. There's no Seattle owner should ever say we don't have the money to do it. Again, it's a risk. It's a financial risk, but you go do it. So yeah, they need to. They have the money to go do it. I just think you want to make this place as attractive as possible for him to come too. You want it to have a pretty good team in place. I don't think he needs to go to the best team, but he is not going to go, he's not going to take the worst team and just go play out of comfort. He wants to go where he's going to compete for the postseason.